Evening and welcome to the October 5th council meeting. If you'd please stand, Mayor Pro Tem Lucio will lead us in the flag salute.
Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Our first proclamation this evening will be Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is October 2021. I'd like to call up June Sano, our clinical specialist with the City of Chino, Pat Bell, Executive Director of the House of Ruth, and Rhonda Beltran, Director of Development with the House of Ruth also. Proclamation reads, whereas 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men and 1 in 3 teens in the United States have suffered severe physical and emotional violence by an intimate partner. Victims are deprived of their autonomy, liberty, security, and face tremendous threats to their health and safety. And whereas the number of domestic violence incidents in the United States increased by 8.1% after the lockdown orders due to COVID-19 pandemic, the United Nations is referring to this as the shadow pandemic against individuals due to isolation and inability to ask for help. The problem of domestic violence is not confined to any group or groups of people, but crosses all economic, racial, gender, educational, religious, and societal barriers, and is sustained by societal indifferences. The crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse. And whereas approximately 26% of children under the age of 18 are exposed to domestic violence in their lifetime, victims of violence should have access to medical and legal services, counseling, transitional housing, and other supportive services so they can escape the cycle of abuse. The House of Ruth provides life-saving domestic violence services for residents of Los Angeles and San Bernardino counties, and the City of Chino works closely with the County of San Bernardino to offer Choices Batterers Treatment, a court-mandated program to help individuals identify and manage anger issues. And whereas the City of Chino is committed to working in partnership to increase public awareness of domestic violence and to eliminate it through prevention and education. Now, therefore, I, Eunice Emuloa, Mayor of the City of Chino, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens to work towards the elimination of domestic violence in our community.
Ladies. Thank you, Mayor Uloa and council members for this proclamation that's so important for our city for this month of October, Domestic Violence Prevention Month. And we're here to remind you that we do have services available for anyone who might be in trouble in their homes, anyone who just may need outside counsel. Please feel free to call our counseling department here at Human Services, 909-334-3259. We also, as you mentioned, offer the anger management classes we call Choices here, which are court-mandated classes, as well as people just attending wanting to know about better ways to manage their anger. So we're just here to remind everyone that our services are available. We also do see continued rise in the domestic violence visits through PD, and so they unfortunately have shared the statistics that compared 2020 to 2021 this year, we've been up 19%, and that has been 2020 was 234 visits they had to make, and this year 290 visits. So that's just here in our city. So we know that this is really a need for our citizens, so we want to remind you that there is help available, and please call if you need help. And we're so happy that we work in coordination with House of Ruth, and Pat Bell is here, the executive director, to represent them, and here's the proclamation.
Thank you very much. This is a beautifully written proclamation, and it really captures what is going on with people that are experiencing domestic violence in their homes. I'm grateful to be here. I'm very grateful for the years of support from the City of Chino. You all have been terrific in really just standing beside us. House of Ruth is here to offer emergency shelter. We have transitional shelter. We have a housing program that will help people with either rapid rehousing or eviction prevention. And these are all people that are experiencing abuse within the home. We have a lot of prevention educators that go out into the schools and try to work with the youth, because one of our core beliefs is that in order to eradicate violence, you have to teach what a healthy relationship looks like. So we do spend quite a bit of time with the younger folks so that they can really understand what the warning signs are when they're in a relationship that, you know, is triggering and not healthy. So we appreciate the support for your residents out there in the City of Chino that might need help. We have a 24-hour hotline. That number is 877-988-5559, and you can call us in a safe place to be able to reach out for help. So we're here for you, and we really appreciate the support from your city. Thank you.
Well, and too, like our police department says, if you see something, say something. And so many times, you know, we read horrible stories of someone who has been killed or injured violently by domestic violence, and people always say, well, why didn't anybody say anything? Well, we need to step forward and say something if we see that things are happening. So please don't be afraid, and do call. We have several helplines, so please do reach out. Thank you for being here. Our next proclamation is Fire Prevention Week, October 3 through 9. I'd like to call up Fire Chief Dave Williams. Are you bringing your entourage? Okay. And the proclamation reads, this week commemorates the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, which killed more than 250 people, left 100,000 homeless, and destroyed more than 17,400 buildings and burned more than 2,000 acres. Home fires killed more than 2,770 people in the United States in 2019, according to the National Fire Protection Association. And fire departments in the United States responded to 339,500 fires. Whereas smoke alarms sent smoke well before you can, alerting you to the danger in the event of a fire in which you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape safely. The 2021 Fire Prevention Week theme, Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety, effectively served to remind us it's important to learn the different sounds of smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. And whereas the Chino Valley Independent Fire District is committed to the safety of life and property from devastating effects of fire. Chino Valley Independent Fire District is joined by the City of Chino, City of Chino Hills, County of San Bernardino, and the Chino Valley Fire Foundation, as well as other emergency service providers, businesses, schools, service clubs, and organizations in their fire safety efforts. And whereas the Chino Valley Independent Fire District calls upon the people of Chino Valley to participate in fire safety and preparedness activities at home, work, and school, and to take steps needed to make their homes and families safe from fire. Whereas the Chino Valley Independent Fire District will hold its annual open house on Saturday, October 16th at 9 a.m. to 12. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Chino Valley Independent Fire District proclaims the week of October 3rd through 9, 2021 as Fire Prevention Week. Dave?
Mayor, thank you very much. Council, thank you very much for this recognition. Community, as your fire district, we recognize that it takes community involvement. We are going to be here at any call that you request of us. Fire Prevention Week is very important for smoke detectors, and what we were asking you to do is you check your batteries twice a year at the change of time, fall back and spring forward. So those are really good times, reminders to help you check your smoke detectors. If you do have a smoke detector and you're not sure how to get it installed, please reach out to the fire district and we will make sure that we come out and we get you assisted with getting that put in place. Just one last thing I'd say, just from a statistical standpoint, 3 out of 5 people perish that involve residential fires. So that's 41% of people pass away and an additional 16% due to either not having one installed or not having it functional. So if you have one installed, please make sure the battery's in there. And if you don't have one installed, please reach out to us and we'll make sure that we get you assisted with getting one. Thank you.
That's good to know. Introduce your gentleman.
I have Deputy Chief Nathan Cook and I have Battalion Chief Greg Gable.
Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Okay, Community Planning Month, which is also October. I'd like to call up the City of Planning Commission Chairman, Brandon Blanchard. Do you have any other commissioners with you? No others. Just you all by yourself? All right, okay. And the proclamation reads, whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, rural areas, and other places. Community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. Community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. The month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. The American Planning Association and its professional institute, the American Institute of Certified Planners, endorsed National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions, sound planning, and plan implementation to make the quality of our settlements and environment. The celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of the Chino Planning Commission and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Chino. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by the professional city planners of the city of Chino and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, I, Eunice Emialoa, Mayor of the City of Chino, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Community Planning Month. Brandon.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. We certainly appreciate the proclamation, and we want to make sure that we invite all of the citizens of the city to be involved in the process of planning your city. We meet on the first and third Monday of each month here in the City Council chambers at 7 p.m., and we do value the input that you give us. And on behalf of Vice Chairman Moore, as well as the other 5 commissioners on the Planning Commission, we certainly thank you. And also up here with me from staff is Warren Morillian.
Thank you, Mayor, Chairman. I just want to thank everybody also for celebrating Community Planning Month. It's important, so I want to thank the city for doing so, and I look forward to many more projects the rest of the year and the following year. So thank everybody, and it's an important month, and we celebrate. As a planner, it's dear to my heart. So thank you very much.
We also have some very important planning items coming up with our arena housing, too. So we're going to ask for public input on that, as well as our master plan for the Civic Center. So please stay tuned and please become involved with us, right? Okey doke. Thank you. Okay, next, we have Business of the Month, October 2021. I keep saying that wrong. Chino's leaders value the many contributions our city businesses make that help make Chino a great place to live. Providing jobs, revenue, and amenities to our community, local businesses help our city to create a place where people not only survive, but thrive. Restaurants are key to the success of any community. Chino's dining experiences bring family and friends together to celebrate events and create memories. For the month of October, we would like to recognize Central Basco as our Business of the Month. I'd like to call up the owner, Bernadette Helton. Come on, bring your family. Hi, Joe. The family-owned and operated Central Basco is run by 3 generations of family members. They are a community-based business with a strong culture and history. They provide traditional home-style cooking from their French Basque ancestry with the goal of providing excellent customer service and quality food and beverage. In the spirit of the Basque tradition, Central Basco offers the boarders table lunch in which everyone sits together at long tables. The border table offers multiple courses served family style to share. And you get so full. It's in this atmosphere that makes the outing to the Central Basco a unique, memorable, and cherished experience. Central Basco shows their love for the community by consistently giving back. They donate their soup du jour to Isaiah's Rock to help feed the homeless. During the pandemic, they prepared, packaged, and delivered food to seniors in Chino and Chino Hills for 15 months. In addition, they have hosted fundraisers for the Chino Medical Center, Breast Cancer Awareness, and the Shriners Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, just to name a few. Let us congratulate Central Basco for providing a great dining experience, for giving back to our city, and for being our October 2021 Business of the Month recipient. And I'd like to give you this plaque in commemorating the October 2021 Chino Business of the Month. I will tell you something, they are just absolutely phenomenal. Their food is great, family atmosphere is great. So Monique, I've got her mom is Monique, and I've got her on my mind right now.
No, huge compliment. If I could live up to her, I'd be amazing. Anyway, thank you, City of Chino. Appreciate the recognition. We've worked really hard to stay alive, and without your support, we couldn't have done it. And we really appreciate you all, especially Eunice. You would go way back, and the council. Hi, Walt. Joe, you want to say anything? Taylor? Oh, come on, Joe. Thank you. Mileshker.
If you haven't eaten there, you have to go. Oh, one more. Thanks, you guys. Okay, now we have the Mayor's Home Beautification Award. I'd like to call up Brian and Angela Parker. Now, you've eaten at Central Basco, right? I have not. Okay, well, you're going to have to. You're going to have to. Okay. Thank you for the continued improvement and maintenance of your home, resulting in a substantial contribution to the overall appearance of the community. We have this certificate. We have a picture of your beautiful home. There you go. We have 2 of our city pins, lapel pins. And we have a pen. And then we have, of course, the coveted, which everybody wants, of course. Well, you got to help me turn this over so I don't stab you. The coveted yard sign, telling all of your neighbors that you got the month of October. Now, who does all the maintenance?
Well, actually, she does all the maintenance. So, yeah, I'm actually a senior merchant for Home Depot, so I buy all the live goods for Southern California. So it's our yard's kind of I guess, a demo of what we sell in our stores. And so trust me, if it doesn't work in our yard, we don't put it in the store, because if she can't take care of it, nobody can. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. We've waited a long time for this. So it's we've been in the community for 16 years. So it's been very nice. We get to spend all our time at Owens. That's the problem. They kind of captured us there. So
Okay, we'll just go around the corner.
yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have a presentation from our San Bernardino County Transportation Authority Project Manager, Paul Melicotton, right? Okay. He's going to tell us all about State Route 60 and the Central Avenue project.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thanks for having us here tonight. Like I said, my name is Paul Maloktan. I'm a project manager with the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, or SBCTA for short. So I actually have a team here with me I want to introduce. Back there is Paula Beauchamp, our Director of Project Delivery and Toll Operations. Tim Watkins with our Public Information Department. Marissa Greenway, she's our Public Outreach Coordinator for the project. She does the day-to-day outreach, works closely with city staff on what's going on with the project, updates and so on. And then Chachi Wang, she's our resident engineer on the project. She oversights the day-to-day construction operations. So some of the key team members on the project, and they're also here to help answer questions after the presentation. So this is just a very quick presentation on where we are on the State Route 60 Central Avenue Interchange project. The last council update was actually back in January of 2021, which was about 3 months before construction started, 8 months ago. So in conjunction with city staff, we thought it's about time for us to get back here just to let you know what we're up to and what's going on. So
A lot of activity.
yeah, absolutely. and there's going to be more. So anyway, so we wanted to just give sort of an update on the construction efforts, what we've done so far and what's next on the construction. And like I said, our plan is to keep the council informed of what's going on. So we'll likely be back next year and do another update. So, yeah. So before I get started, just wanted to do a quick overview of the project. Just I'll start with the schedule. So back in summer of 2020, that's when we completed the final design of the project, acquired all the rights, the right-of-way for the construction and operation of the project. That allowed us to advertise and award a construction contract in April 2021. That's when work started. And so this project we're forecasting to be complete with construction fall of next year, around November timeframe. So that's November, you'll see construction equipment out of the way, and then everyone be able to use all the improvements that we're doing on the project. So with the completion of construction, that kicks off our 1 year of plan establishment. The contractor that installed the landscaping is going to be sort of making sure that the plants that they planted thrive for a year. Concurrent with that, we're going to procure a landscape maintenance contractor that's going to oversight and maintain the landscaped areas for 4 years. After 4 years, Caltrans will pick up the perpetual maintenance of the interchange. So that's going to happen. We're starting the 4-year plan establishment in 2023. 2027, that's when Caltrans will take over the maintenance. Oh, just really quick, the scope of the project. So before the project, on Central Avenue, there was one left turn lane providing freeway access for both on-ramps. So the issue that we're correcting with this project is that there wasn't enough vehicular storage on those ramps. So the cars, especially on the peak hour, are spilling into Central Avenue and affecting through traffic. So that was actually existing when we started the project. The forecast, based on our traffic projections, made it look really worse and bleak. So this is much needed for the city and the region.
We remember.
Yeah. During construction, it's a little bit of a hassle, but at the end, the product's going to be great. So with the project, we're adding an additional left turn lane for both on-ramps. So we're going to have 2 left turn lanes. So the ramps, before the project only had 1 lane, so now we're actually adding another lane. And in conjunction with the carpool system, or we call it the HOV, high occupancy vehicle system, we're also adding a 3rd lane for carpoolers on the on-ramps. And the bridge before the project did not have shoulders, so this bridge widening is going to provide shoulders for emergency if you need to pull over or first responder access. And the bridge is also going to be widened enough for future widening of Central Avenue. I think there's a plan to widen it for an additional lane. So at least when we're doing it once, there's no throwaway.
Good.
Yeah. And also, part of the project, we're going to improve pedestrian access, sidewalks, and meet Americans with Disability Act compliance requirements. So, and then part of the project, we're also doing some landscaping on the gore areas, and also we'll be constructing some retaining walls on the ramps. So here's a couple of pictures. Like I mentioned, construction started in April of this year with the work, the installation of construction area signs started, clearing and grubbing of the area, and placing temporary K-rail, or those temporary concrete barriers to delineate the work areas. And then crews picked up and began restriping some of the lanes for, in accordance with the traffic management plan, removing some of the concrete and roadway excavation and grading. So those 2 pictures sort of depict some of the grading that's happening on the ramps right now. And here's some more pictures. That's some grading and removing the concrete on the on-ramps. And then this picture is actually the demolition that happened on the bridge back in May. Crews demoed the east side of the Central Avenue bridge over the freeway. So when this work happened, if you recall, the freeway was shut down for a weekend, including Central Avenue. Here's another photo of the demolition of the bridge. And again, this is on the east side of the bridge on the northbound direction of Central Avenue. The last few months, crews have been working on construction of the support system for the Central Avenue Bridge, construction of the bridge columns in the median, and the picture on the left, that's actually the rebar casing for the bridge piles. That's right in the center of the freeway. And also construction of the concrete pavement on the eastbound and westbound on-ramps, and work on the drainage systems also began. In this photo here, it's crews working on the drainage systems just north of the westbound off-ramp. And the picture to the right is the construction of the bridge abutments, again on the east side of the bridge. And we have a little video, actually. It's a drone video of, I think this was taken about a couple weeks ago, just to kind of show what the project area looks like. So the gore areas look kind of stark right now without the vegetation that was there, all the ice plant and the shrubs and palm trees. So after the project, like I said, part of the project includes landscape planting. So it's going to be a combination of hardscape and some trees and so on. It's going to look really nice when the project's complete. And by the way, that design, we did that design in conjunction with city staff and Caltrans. We got some pretty good feedback with the city design review board at one of the workshops that we had. Oops. And actually, this picture is not the project, but just kind of giving a list of some of the near-term upcoming work that's coming up. So the crews are going to continue to construct the curb and gutters. You'll see some more paving on the sidewalks and so on. Continue to perform grading, paving, drainage, and electrical work. And actually, next week, Monday, October 11th, and Tuesday, October 12th, the freeway is going to be closed between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., and so will Central Avenue across the bridge. And so that's what the work's going to be. We're installing the bridge girders, which is actually pretty neat. This is done with cranes in the freeway below, and then we'll have crews that have guide wires tied to them in the girders, and they're going to move it in place. So that's going to be done this coming Monday and Tuesday. And then after the girders are done, we're going to start working on the bridge deck, and after that, we'll construct the bridge barrier. So that's going to be beautiful. I apologize, I don't have a picture of it, but that was actually a lot of work designing that. We met with the infrastructure committee, we met with the design review board with the city, got some really good feedback. It's going to be beautiful when it's complete.
I was able to attend one of those.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And then some more work. We'll be reviewing the color test panels for the bridge colors. We'll be working closely with city staff, make sure the city's happy with the colors, and also the form liners for the retaining wall aesthetics. And then I think that's it for my presentation. So also wanted to point out, we have a project website on the SBCTA website. So on this website, actually, it will give you all the documents you need for the project, links to the weekly construction alerts, and actually has you have an ability to sign up for weekly alerts. I think every Friday you get an email what's going on for the next week. And also there's an interactive Google Maps that shows you all the detours are, if there's closures and so on. So we encourage you to visit the website. It's www.gosbcta.com, and there's a current projects link, and all you have to do is click on that and search for the SR60 Central project.
Do we have a link to that? Is that on our website as well? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the update.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very well aware of closures. And,
Yeah.
you know, we hear a lot about that.
So those weekly updates are actually very helpful.
They are. Thank you very much.
I'll be happy to answer any questions if you
Any
have
questions? No. Questions? Well, thank you very much for
Thank you
being.
again for having us.
We're really excited to have this finished. I mean, we have so many construction programs right now going, projects in our community. Some of our citizens are just, I think they're ready to throttle us.
Yeah.
They're just done with all the construction, but they'll be very, very happy when it's all over with.
This is going to be worthwhile.
Yes,
so.
it will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Prior to starting our meeting, we had a closed session. I'd like to ask Attorney Galante to give us a report out of that meeting.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The City Council, as the mayor mentioned, met in closed session and held a discussion as to both items listed on the closed session agenda. As to item A, conference with legal counsel, one item of anticipated litigation under the heading initiation of litigation. The City Council concurred with staff's authorization to accept a settlement payment for the full amount of damage from the Monte Vista Water District for damage to the city's water facilities. The second item, conference with legal counsel, one item of existing litigation, the case entitled City of Chino and Additional Parties versus California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation and Additional Parties. City Council received a briefing of the status of that case, provided direction, and no further reportable action was taken. That concludes the report out of closed session.
Thank you very much. City Manager Ballantyne, do we have any agenda additions or revisions?
Yes, Mayor, I want to note one correction on the consent calendar, item number 2. It should reflect, actually, those meeting minutes are for September 21st, 2021, not October 5th.
Great.
That concludes my changes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I saw that when I was reading it. I thought, can't very well have the minutes of tonight when it hasn't happened yet. Okay. For public announcements first, in collaboration with Waste Management, I want to encourage residents to come out for a free residential community cleanup event this Saturday, October 9th, at 13793 Redwood Street from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. This event is for Chino residents only, so please be prepared to show proof of residency, like an ID or utility bill, to participate. For all those who do participate, you will be able to discard items like unwanted tires, furniture, appliances, electronics, green waste, scrap metal, and more. Please note that vehicles used to transport waste material is generally limited to cars, pickup trucks, station wagons, vans, or SUVs. Exceptions may be allowed, but for more information, please call Waste Management at 800-423-9986. Also, with Halloween approaching, for all of our seniors, come out to the free Spooky Senior Dance on Thursday, October 21st from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Senior Center located at 13170 Central Avenue. All those in attendance are encouraged to wear their favorite Halloween attire while they enjoy music, dancing, and light refreshments. For more information, please call 909-334-3271. And with Halloween in mind, I'm excited to announce that one of our most anticipated events is back. Our annual Halloween Spooktacular is happening on Sunday, October 31st from 4 to 9 p.m. at Ayala Park Fields 7, 8, 9, and 10. All those in attendance can enjoy outstanding family fun activities that include, but are not limited to, a series of different games, trunk or treating, giveaways, and costume contests. For more information, please call 909-334-3258. And lastly, sadly, we will be adjourning tonight's meeting in memory of Robert Rodello. Robert, as many of you know, was the owner of Rodello's Towing, a company that began as a family-owned full-service gas station in the 1950s at the corner of 6th and D Street, the site where we are actually sitting tonight. In 1957, Robert and his father, Pablo, started Rodello's Mobile and Towing Company, which has continued to operate as a family business rooted in ethics, honesty, and integrity. Beyond building a long-standing and successful Chino company, Robert also served on the Chino Research Group in the early 2000s, which self-published the book, The Chino We Remember, accumulation of the group's research and hard work that celebrated and highlight Chino's proud Hispanic history. As a council, we are saddened at the news of Robert's passing, and we will extend our sympathies and prayers to the Rodello family during this difficult time. Next on the agenda is public comments. Now is the time for the general public to address the council on items that do not appear elsewhere. If you do have something that you would like to discuss, please fill out a request to address the council. Our first written request is for our invocation. It's going to be led by Roy Robbins from the Christ Lutheran Church. He's going to lead us in an invocation. I'd like to invite all those who would like to participate to please stand.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to be here tonight. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as this meeting begins. May there be meaningful discussion and resolutions rich in discernment. Fill us with compassion and insight as decisions are made that affect the city and beyond. Lord, please extend an extra measure of your love and grace to each person in attendance here tonight. Remind us that all that is accomplished here this evening is for your glory and for the service of our community and beyond. Father, help us to always remember those less fortunate than ourselves and to always err on the side of compassion and loving grace. You are our hope and our sure salvation. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Melissa Campani here this evening from Supervisor Hagman's office.
Good evening, Mayor Ulola, council members, staff, and of course, community members. My name is Melissa Campani, and I am here representing your county supervisor, Kurt Hagman. Supervisor Hagman has been working hard on a veteran claims event. We're giving you a little bit of notice here, so please share with any veterans you may know who would like assistance. The event date will be November the 10th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and it will be taking place locally in his Chino Hills District office. So it will be very convenient for some of our local Chino veterans, so we're looking forward to helping them. The Veteran Service officers will be answering questions about existing claims, conducting benefit assistant interviews, completing claim forms and paperwork. And they also issue a San Bernardino County Veteran ID card, which is very helpful for many veterans, even if they want a discount. You know, it's something nice to show. We do ask that you bring your DD Form 214-214, and just to let you know that all services are provided free of charge. So the location will be 14010 City Center Drive in Chino Hills. Questions would be at 909-465-5265, and we're even going to have a barbecue lunch for the veterans who come out. So we hope to see you all there, any veterans you may know. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, those are the only written requests I have to speak at this time. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on an item that's not on the agenda? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I put in my little card. I don't know how I got missed, but I'm just going to be short and sweet
Your
tonight.
item number 15.
Oh, okay.
We're not on 15 yet. This
Oh,
is
okay. I
just
thought this was open.
Yeah, this is for items that are not on the agenda. I have your card.
It's nice to be on the agenda.
Anyone in the audience want to address us on items that are not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We have the consent calendar in front of us. Do any council members wish to have any items pulled? Any members of the public wish to have any items on that consent calendar pulled? Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion and a second. Okay, there's a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio, second from Councilman Flores. Please vote. And the item passes 4 yes with 1 absent. Okay, moving on. Item number 15, Track 18903, Landmark Public Improvements. This is to receive an update on the status of the completion of public improvements in that track, generally located north of Heritage Park and west of Norton. Our staff report this evening will be provided by our city engineer, Chris Magnoscu. Chris?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Pleasure to be here. Tonight's a continued business item, as you mentioned. We have a little more detail to provide tonight, making some progress on the development of getting this project closed out or getting closer to close out. As outlined in your report and for the public, there's a couple of administrative items that we've taken care of. One is a letter was sent out by our city attorney's office to the residents, letting them know what's going on as a whole, so they're all informed on the spot and know exactly where we're headed and what direction we're going to final this out and what we're doing with working with Meritage and what we can do and what the residents can only do with Meritage, keeping that separate. Second part of that is we have put Meritage on notice, essentially. We've given them 30 days or the end of the month to provide a schedule of completing all the improvements by the end of 2021. So that's the second part of that. So that's going to now get the ball moving. They've already made some contact with us, and we're going to be meeting with them soon. The last kind of 2 items that are the larger ones that they've been seeing work in the field on is removing the red curb. All that work has been complete. We've avoided the confusion of why we added some red, took some away, and that's because some of the red wasn't installed yet. So that was been a punch list item, so that's what one of the residents thought when we were adding red. We're actually putting it in per plan. At the end of the day, we've removed over 150 lineal feet of red curb. That adds at least 7 to 8 parking stalls on the streets. That provides additional parking where parking will actually fit. So that work is complete. The standing water, which is the biggest issue we've had for a while in the gutter, I've analyzed the results of the survey. There's about 100 lineal feet of low areas within good areas, and that's what's causing the backup. So as your water drains and it flattens out, that slows it down. So it makes the whole gutter look like it's flat. It's not as flat. It's at per city standard. So those low areas can actually be removed and reinstalled at the slopes we need. It's just going to be really tight construction control, inspection control, and that can at least alleviate the water from ponding from long periods of time. The big thing is can we find a way to get rid of the nuisance water altogether? And so we put our heads together and we were thinking about various ways of draining the backyards. We can't plug the drains because we don't want to create a liability the other way. we said, why don't we look at doing what's called a burrito wrap? It's something I used to do in my geotechnical world, where you put basically a perforated pipe instead of a solid pipe, let the water drain into that pipe into a media like a rock or a sand. We have to work with the design on that. I did that on one other tract here in Chino 15 years ago, and it worked. That'll allow the low flow to just perk out and down into the ground. What we have to do is find a way to make that of enough success to allow it to drain to not plug up. So maintenance is going to be key. I met with one of the residents last week, Kirsten Melville. She totally understands that, gets it. She took this plan back with one of her neighbors today. They probably didn't have time to review it, but I reviewed it with her, and she was going to get with the residents. So I think we're heading in the right direction. We're just going to have to work with Meritage on the completion of the improvements by the end of the year. This drain improvements, which may not need to be every lot, enough to just allow the areas that we have drainage problems. And then third, making sure that those low spots in the curb areas are removed and replaced properly. So that concludes my staff report on the update on Landmark. I'm prepared to take any questions.
Hey, Chris, I have a question,
Sure.
and that is, it was mentioned that when we were preparing to remove the red curbs, that some of that curbing, the material was inferior and it crumbled. What's going to happen with the curbing that is inferior?
My understanding is we're going to have that removed and replaced. And still don't know why that was caused. I've never had spalling caused. Usually that's caused over time, not just water, but something was either in the water or was just not, the right kind of chemical reaction with the water, with the cement that could have caused that. I've done some research and talked to some people, and they're still saying, I don't know, I've never heard of that. But the bottom line is it can be repaired.
Okay, but what about, since it appeared where we were working on the curbing, what about the rest of the curbing that may be inferior as well? Is there any way to test to see if it needs to be replaced?
I thought about that a lot. And what happens is compression testing, without getting too technical, to check the strength of it, it might have the strength. This would be something in the mix. So that what usually you would have to do is you have to remove areas and just do a reverse. It's basically breaking it down back to the way it was before to see if there's any other materials in there. The slippery slope is if the test areas come back that way, then you can make some assumptions that all of it is bad, and that would be bad, because having it all removed and replaced would be costly and not as feasible to do. We just have to let it sit over time and let the warranty period occur and just kind of keep an eye on it. But I wouldn't recommend touching it at all. I would leave it alone. Let
So
the
the
time
parts
cure
that
it.
are chipped now, we would have them repair?
Yeah.
Any of the chip in the sidewalk area that's crumbling and the curb areas that are crumbling?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so those are all going to be identified to be repaired?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions before I call on our speaker? Okay, Christopher Schloman. Did I get it right?
We're getting closer every time. I'm just happy to be here.
Tell me again.
It's Schleman.
Schleman.
Yes. It's German, Schleman. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, City Council members. Mayor, I really appreciate, Mayor, your questions and your diligence, sincerely. On behalf of several, I just want to say thanks that the activity's been noticeable out there, the removing of the red. It's been helpful. I would respectfully contend the 7 to 8 spots. The linear feet is probably accurate. I'm not going to doubt you on that. But I'll give you an example. In front of my house, I now have 2 5-foot sections where red was removed, but 2 5-foot sections where red exists. So you can't park a car in the 5-foot opening. So, and I think there's a number of spots there where red has been removed, but we're not actually creating 7 to 8 spaces, but it is an improvement for sure. I did receive the letter from the city attorney, and that was helpful just to get really clear on what we can and can't do. I think in speaking to sort of your follow-up questions is my biggest concern today. I really just showed up to express gratitude, but what you're speaking to, I know that I've been copied on some emails that were sent to you that just show the crumbling in the curbs and in the sidewalks, which haven't been messed with. And I just think it's, there's no way that we can presume that all the bad concrete is where the red is. And so I would really press for testing throughout, because we're seeing it in the sidewalks crumbling. And one of the complaints that the majority of us neighbors have had that I know the city can't handle is our back patios. the concrete has obvious problems that they don't know what caused it. But I just think that whoever they had in charge, the subcontractor in charge of concrete, is probably not very good at his or her job. Because we have it in the majority of our patios. We're seeing it not break, not just on the red curbs, but in the sidewalks and other places. So I would just really encourage the city to mandate testing throughout, because I think it's just foolish to assume that we're only going to have problems where the red curb exists. And respectfully, I know you're saying, well, we can maintain it sort of long-term, but I just think we know that, like, there's a good reason to believe that we're going to have problems in all these other areas. What was the other thing here? I guess that's the majority of it, really. It's just really the testing. I really appreciate that we finally have some accountability, and we're giving, okay, by the end of this month, or 30 days, they've got to have some sort of plan in place, and by then, like, that's, my neighbors are going to be, like, super excited to hear that, so.
We're getting there, I think.
Yeah, no,
Well,
yeah.
One of the
appreciate it.
difficulties with the red curbs is, as you may or may not know, we've had extreme difficulty regarding ADA issues.
I do.
And the guidelines in that are pretty stickler. So when it comes to line of sight and all that kind of stuff, I believe that staff removed as much as they think we're safe in removing without getting in trouble with ADA regulations. But some of that stuff, we don't have a choice.
I completely
Well,
understand.
I should rephrase that. We could remove it, but then we'd be liable if
Yes,
anybody
yes,
gets hurt.
and I don't want the city to have any lawsuits against it, and that they shouldn't. It does seem like we have far more red curbing than any other neighborhood I've ever been into in Chino. Like, so I don't know if the standards change and we had to increase it there. But I also know that Stubby produced this 200-page report. Did he ever submit it to the council?
Stubby does a lot of reports.
Okay, because like when he was out there, there was, from my conversations with him, he really believed that some of it was unnecessary, that the line of sights just weren't issues.
Well,
especially in the knuckle there.
the interesting issue is he's the one that's pushed these items.
I
So it's kind of a double-edged sword, you know?
Yes, many things are.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I was just curious because there's a couple right there at the knuckle that there's just obvious line of sight where you can see. Right there between Kirsten's house and our house is right there where the knuckle comes like this. And we still have red there, but it's like you see the whole street coming at you this way. And then it's the other side of the street that you see coming down that way. So it's just something to consider. I'm here to say thank you. I appreciate the activity and the accountability sincerely. I do think it would be wise to really force them to do some testing all the way down the street.
Well, we'll see what they can do.
All right?
Yes.
So Mayor, if I may, if you'd like and you have time, I can get you a card and I can have you come in. If you have time to come in and myself and Dennis, we can walk you through the red curve just so you fully understand. I want you to know why. I don't want to always have that in a session like this. And then on the testing, I'll do whatever you direct me to do.
That was your original idea, so. And a really good one. So
Thanks,
thank you. That'd be great.
Well, thanks
Thank
for
you, Mayor.
coming.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay, anyone else have any comments on that item? Okay, then, let's see. I guess we need a motion and a second to receive and file the information. Motion from Councilman Flores, second from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. Item passes 4 yes, 1 absent. Item number 16, notice of completion, Magnolia Avenue Storm Drain Project, Salem and Carissa, SD 121. This item is to accept the Magnolia Avenue Storm Drain Project as complete and release the retention funds following the 35-day lien period. I'd like to call on our CIP Engineering Manager, Maria Frazier. Oh, look at, we have Amr Jakar, our Public Works Director, is going to provide the report this evening.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. So this item is also a continued item from the last meeting. What's in front of you for consideration tonight is acceptance of storm drain project SD211. The purpose of this project was to install about 1,300 feet of storm drain in Salem and Carissa Avenues. This project was designed and awarded for construction in 2019. which, by the way, is prior to adoption of the current city ADA policy. And normally, this type of utility projects do not have ADA or curb ramps as part of the project, and they're not required to be done. But because this project was in front of Cortez Elementary School, and because there's other utility work that went on along with our project, staff decided to include paving and additional work on the sidewalks and ramps as part of the project. For example, we added ADA access on the west side of Chris Avenue at Verdugo, where it didn't exist. And we also provided wider crosswalks because there is a lot of people that cross in the morning and the afternoon for the school. This, as I mentioned, the item was continued from the last meeting to provide opportunity to the public to make some comments. Staff received written comments from Mr. Barr a few hours ago today. We reviewed those comments with the inspection staff. Some of the drainage issues that were raised have already been addressed. They were referenced in several places to the city policy about the design and standard, but the city policy wasn't in place when we did the design. But even though when we went back and look at it, it does meet all, the project does meet all the requirements of the city policy. There were other comments regarding the location of the ramps and the angles of the ramps and how they were built. When we were building this when we were designing this project, the design team looked at all the options available for them to place the ramps. There are driveways in the way. There are other improvements that are there. So the ramps can be placed in only certain locations, and that's where they were placed. So they were all placed appropriately. Staff feels the improvements as constructed comply with the improvement plans that were approved by the City Council, the city policy, and also ADA as well. This concludes my staff report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding this project.
Thank you, Amr. Prior to questions of the council, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none. Council comments, Mark?
I looked at the report that he wrote, and it shows obviously that there's some, the ramps that come off the sidewalk going onto the street, and then the crosswalk is not in line with it. Now, I know that, I guess the preference would be that it would line up, but even though it doesn't line up, does it still meet the ADA requirement?
Today, there's a ramp at the southwest corner of Carissa and Serene, I believe, and that line, so there is a driveway. If we line this ramp up perpendicular to the street, it would end up in the driveway. So it's skewed a little bit. It does meet ADA, it does meet city policy.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Amr, thank you very much for the report.
I also had one more. I noticed that on some of these that he shows that it's directly going across the street from the school. And in some of them, he's asking for directional ramps to go across the street to the school. But I know that they already have a specified crosswalk for the kids to go to cross the street to go to the school. This would be an additional area. Now, my question is, the reason we didn't put it in, is it because we don't want to have a bunch of crosswalks directly in front of the school where we can't control the kids when they're crossing? Or was this, what was the reason why we didn't do those ramps?
So so we were competing for the pedestrian and also the parking space at the curb for the people to pick up their kids. So we did add 2 more ramps across the street from those were on Verdugo, but we felt by adding this ramp, because the other ramp was skewed, they would be very close together and would limit the number of cars can be parked. It already gets very crowded at the end of the day when the cars are lined up to pick up their kids. So they would be lining up in front of the ramp if we put one ramp there. Also, there is a catch basin that went very close to it, so we're very limited space-wise to put that ramp in. So we did not put the ramp in. We put a directional ramp on the other side. Also, there is a limited number of crossing guards. So we also have to have a crossing guard. If we put a crosswalk, then they would have to put a cross guard. So we were very careful in picking how many ramps we added.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion in a second. Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio, second from Councilman Flores. Item passes 4 yes with 1 absent. Item number 17, report on the relocation of Sharrows. Report to the City Council on relocation of Sharrows and approve a budget transfer of $20,000 from TR 172 to the Transportation Program operating budget for cost to relocate the shared bike lane arrows, also known as Sharrows. Transportation Manager Dennis Rawls will provide a staff report this evening. Dennis?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, we're continuing our discussion on Sharrows, and specifically back on June of 15th, City Council approved the notice of completion of our TDA project, which added bike lanes and bike facilities throughout our downtown area and around Chino Hills High School. During that discussion of the notice of completion, and prior to that, there were some concerns with the location of the Sharrow and how it was placed on the street. Specifically, its proximity to on-street parking. In some areas of the city, some of our roadways are awfully narrow, where we do still provide on-street parking. And although the Sharrows were installed to be uniform in their design and layout, the City Council did feel that some of them were too close to parked cars and directed staff to take a look at relocating those. So tonight I'm here to fill in the City Council on what we determined. And what we determined was that about 18 Sharrows were placed such that they were really close to the street and actually were a little outside of design preference. That being that when you have on-street parking, the Sharrow should be about 10 feet away from the curb line. And in moving these 18 Sharrows, some would have to move as little as 1 foot, but some would have to move about 4 feet. The Sharrow itself is a little under 4 feet wide, just to give you an idea. The estimated cost to relocate these Sharrows, including hiring a contractor, mobilizing them, removing the Sharrow, providing a 10-foot by 10-foot slurry patch, and reinstalling the Sharrow into its new location would be approximately $18,000. And in one of the other directions we were asked to give is a photo illustration of what the council might expect to see once we were completed. So the locations of the Sharrows that we've identified as being too close to on-street parking are identified with the red and green indications with the numbers above them. All of these streets have streets that are less than 36 feet wide. That's important to note because those Sharrows, as they were designed and installed, are less than 10 feet away from the curb line. So in doing that, that puts the Sharrow awfully close to on-street parking. This is a quick estimate that staff prepared in preparation for tonight's understanding. This shows all of the items listed and their approximate cost, including the removing and reinstallation of the thermoplastic Sharrow. Finally, this is an image that staff took of an existing Sharrow that is too close to the curb. You see the little orange mark is where that Sharrow would have to be moved to the tip of that arrow in order to comply with that 10-foot offset from the curb line. And this is staff's best attempt with the tools we had available to give the council some idea of what that might look like. The real thing would look much like a utility patch in terms of a clean, darker black square with a brand new Sharrow painted over it. So I apologize for this being, might not be as true, accurate as would actually occur.
So it would just be just a patch, wouldn't, because this looks like it's going to be bumpy all the way through. It's not
Yeah, that's an effect of us recreating the photo. That's not what would happen out in the field.
Okay.
And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions City Council may have.
Okay, any questions or comments? Well, I've thought a lot about this, and in driving around our community and driving around other communities, these Sharrows and signs for sharing the road with bikes and stuff like that, I personally, my council probably is going to disagree with me, but I think it's a waste of money. I think anybody that is riding a bike on our street and a car that drives down those streets understand that there's going to be a bicycle or maybe a bicycle on that lane and to watch for it. cars are gonna open their doors. They usually watch for bikes. Bikes watch for, cars with people in them. I think the patchwork is gonna look terrible. And so personally, after driving around our community and other communities and looking at this and looking at the way I can't support this item, sorry. Any other comments?
I look at it, most of the locations where these Sharrows are going, we're gonna eventually need to do some slurry over because they're not in the best shapes. But I think the way they're currently placed, I think they put them too close to cars. If the world ran on common sense, we wouldn't need attorneys, or we'd need less of them.
Sorry, Fred.
But the reality is, there's always people out there looking to make a quick buck and to hold somebody liable, and I think by putting them there, it's one of those things where, we got people that stage accidents all the time, and so I think it would just be, in my opinion, it'd be better just to move them, and then eventually when we do the slurry seals, the images would go away, but unfortunately, there isn't a lot of, there's people that are good. The majority of people are gonna follow the law, but there's gonna be always people that are looking to take advantage. That's just my feeling.
If I may just clarify one point, not the comment about the attorneys, I'll leave that be, but I think it's important to also note that the actual arrow where it points on a Sharrow isn't necessarily a legal requirement to ride your bicycle on that arrow. So I know there seemed to have been the perception that that's where a bicycle should go. It's merely an indication that bikes share the road. So that, just for the legal issue that came up, I think it's important to highlight that.
And I've seen that in some cities too, where there'll be the Sharrow and it'll just say share the road.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But I think there's going to be some people that, and they're going to have some people that are going to take a case like that and say, well, the common person would assume that therefore it's painted there, that means the bike should travel there. Just like there's raised curbs and people trip on them and sue us because we shouldn't have had a raised curb when they should have seen the raised curb when they were walking.
Any other comments? Walt?
Dennis, are you repairing or replacing all of the Sharrows that in the whole city that need to be done?
No, this project in particular installed over 100 Sharrows on various streets throughout the city. In placing all those Sharrows, 18 have been identified as being too close to on-street parking. So it would only be the 18 Sharrows, if approved tonight, would get relocated.
What about any others that might be in the town that are misplaced?
All the other Sharrows that were installed by the project are at or further than 10 feet away from the curb. So all of those meet design criteria and are far enough away from on-street parking to not be an issue.
Is this all the Sharrows we have in town?
No.
Oh.
The rest of the Sharrows in town are sprinkled throughout the city. That was not, I have not reviewed all of the locations of all those Sharrows in the city. I'm not even sure if I know where all of them are at right now. But the item tonight was only on the Sharrows that were installed as part of the TDA project.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Chris?
Can you go back 2 slides to the first picture, like the before picture? Or even, yeah, there. When I was going through the agenda, I just thought, and another staff member pointed it out with me. You see the bike rider there at the end of that picture there. The bike rider's on the wrong side of the lane and almost up against that car there, and I just thought that was pretty. I'm not sure what I thought about that. I thought that was pretty funny, but.
They're gonna ride where they're gonna ride.
Yeah. If that's what it's gonna look like with the patch, with the, if you can go to the next picture. And I know this isn't the best picture, and as you mentioned, you did the best of what you can with Photoshop or whatever program you may have used. That doesn't look aesthetically appealing at all. And if that's what it's going to look like or, you know, resemble, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. If there's other ways to move the Sharrow without having it look similar to what it looks like there, then I'd be a big fan of that. If you can go back to the slide where it has all the prices, you know, how much the cost, I mean, yeah. One question I had was this grand total of almost $18,000. How much of that? How much funds do we have left in the grant that you know that paid for all these Sharrows?
It's not on the grant.
I believe there's sufficient funding in the remaining grant to fund these changes. I would have to defer that to Public Works to verify for sure.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then we have an item before us. And the recommendation is to approve the budget transfer of $20,000 and to have these Sharrows relocated. Is there a motion and a second? Okay, there's a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. Is there a second? Okay, there is no second, so that motion fails. Is there a motion to deny the staff recommendation? Do you have to redo it, Angela? Okay, that one failed. Is there a motion to deny the recommendation? Well, there's no way to vote.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion to deny staff recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second. Roll call vote, I guess, Angela.
Councilmember Pocock?
Yes.
Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lucio?
No.
And Mayor Ulloa?
Yes. Okay, the staff recommendation is denied. 3 yes, 1 no, 1 absent. Next on the agenda is public hearing. Prior to the vote of the City Council, any member of the public will have an opportunity to address the council on any of the items under public hearing. Item number 18, amendment to the Hillsborough Development Agreement, introduction of ordinance number 2021-011 for the approval of the First Amendment to the Development Agreement for the Hillsborough Senior Housing Project, PL 160357. I'd like to declare the public hearing open and ask for a staff report from our city attorney, Mr. Fred Galante.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and the audience. Before the council is a proposed amendment to the development agreement that was approved back in on November 5th, 2019 by the City Council. It pertains to a 196-unit senior citizen apartment complex, and that was approved way back in September of 1985. The development agreement essentially allowed for an expansion of that existing use to authorize a 3-story, 62-unit senior citizen apartment building, including affordable units at an undeveloped lot adjacent to the existing development. The development agreement that was approved in 2019 required the applicant, the developer Hillsborough, to Hillsborough Village to develop that expansion on that empty lot and complete all of the construction by March 31st, 2021. Although the applicant has been processing the plans for the project, various issues impacted its ability to proceed with the project, most prominently the impact of the pandemic and some of the delay that ensued from the pandemic. As a result, on April 20th, 2021, the applicant applied for an amendment to the development agreement and asked for an extension of time to complete that project. The request was to extend it for 3 years. That is a significant amendment to the development agreement, so that's why this issue is before you. The development agreement does allow some adjustments at the discretion of staff, but a 3-year extension was beyond that authorization. In exchange for their request to have more time, I've worked with your staff to ask for some additional concessions that the city could benefit from. And the decision was to ask the developer to develop 2 additional low-income units, so put covenants against the property that require them to dedicate 2 additional units for purposes of occupancy by low-income households. That is, as you've heard through the whole regional needs assessment, housing needs assessment process we've undertaken, you're mandated to provide additional affordable housing in the city, so this aids the city in its ability to provide that housing. The other request the applicant made was to defer payment of some of the development impact fees, and the thought there was, I think there are some potential challenges to financing the whole project and having to pay the development impact fees up front. It was apparently becoming a little bit of a challenge. The proposed development agreement addresses that, so it authorizes the applicant to delay the payment of those city-imposed development impact fees. So any regional development fees that apply are beyond your authority to defer those. What is clear, though, is to the extent that the applicant does want to avail itself of that opportunity, any increases that this city council implements to those development impact fees between the time they were required to be paid, which is usually when the building permits are issued, and the time when the development agreement authorizes the payment, which is the first building inspection, so close to certificate of occupancy, any of those rate increases will apply to the applicant. So they take the risk that there will likely be increases in those development impact fees, and the applicant is willing to take on that risk for that opportunity. The applicant will make that decision at the time of pulling building permits. Once they do, should they decide to defer the fees, they have to provide a letter of credit to the city for 110% of the value of those deferred impact fees, 110 to account for any potential increases of those fees. So the proposed development agreement amendment that you have before you implements all those measures. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any council members have questions of staff? If they choose to pay the development fees earlier, they can, correct?
Yes, in fact, it's set up for them to pay on time. They have to actually elect to defer them per the authorization, in which case they have to provide you with a letter of credit.
And if they defer them, then they have to pay them before the occupancy permit is issued, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, is the applicant here? Yes, would you like to make a presentation?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. I'm Gregory Alikian. I am the project director for the Hillsborough Phase 3 project. I wanted to thank staff for working with us through this very challenging time for us. As you know, for senior housing, rental increases have not risen commensurate with the rise in construction costs that we've seen with all the supply chain issues going on during the pandemic. Whereas if we were in a for sale project, we could have passed those costs on in the price of the sale of the project. This is a family-owned project that we intend to own and manage into perpetuity as long as we can. And so because of those senior rents not rising, we had to get creative in finding a way to make the project work. And so the deferment of the developer impact fees although we intend to pay them in 100%, it actually is a strategy to allow us to get the construction to a loan-to-cost ratio that would make it feasible for the, what the standard market is in construction financing for projects like this. And then also for the time extension, we were asking for that because we're looking for the supply chain issues that we're having and all the rise in cost to actually tamper down, hopefully by the beginning of next year. But we can't predict, obviously, when that's going to come. So that's why we're
Well, this project is a long time coming.
Oh, yes, it is.
Been in the plan for a long time. Well, thank you very much. Any questions of the applicant?
I'd just like to comment that I was on the planning commission when you brought this forward about a year ago or so, and I appreciate that you are going to lower the first floor below grade like you did the other rest of the projects, which alleviates the height of the building.
Correct.
And appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's a good project. Thank you. Okay, any of the members of the public have any comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, then we will close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion in a second. Okay, there's a motion from Councilman Flores, second from Councilman Pocock. Fred, would you like to read the ordinance?
Thank you, Mayor. I knew you wouldn't forget. Before the City Council is ordinance number 2021-011, entitled An Uncodified Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Chino, California, approving the First Amendment to the Development Agreement by and between the City of Chino and Hillsborough Phase Roman numeral 3 LLC for the development of a senior housing project. And that's reading by title only and waiving further reading. Thank you, Mayor.
And the item passes 4 yes with 1 absent. You were afraid I was going to forget. That's why you were glaring at me. Okay, item number 19, Community Development Block Grant Action Plan Amendment for fiscal year 2019-2020. This is to adopt Resolution 2021-058, approving the proposed substantial amendment to the City of Chino's FY 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG-CV3 CARES Act funds. I'd like to declare the public hearing open, and ask for a staff report from our Senior Management Analyst, Tracy Smith. Tracy?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Staff is proposing a substantial amendment to the CDBG Action Plan to transfer unexpended CDBG CV3 CARES funds from the Extended Camp Scholarship Program to the Homework Success Program. Both programs were designed to provide assistance to low-income families to assist children impacted during the pandemic. Now that students have returned to in-person learning, the daytime supervision during virtual learning is no longer needed. The transfer of these funds in the amount of $41,580 will enable after-school homework support for children who experienced learning delays during virtual learning. Staff provided the required 5-day public review period, as well as a notice of tonight's public hearing. No written comments were received. Following approval, the revised action plan will be submitted to HUD. This concludes my report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Do any council members have questions of staff? Okay, do any members of the public wish to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and call for a motion and a second. Motion from Councilman Flores, second from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. Item passes 4 yes with 1 absent. Under new business, item number 20, AB 571, campaign contribution limits. Provide direction to staff related to AB 571, imposing local campaign contribution limits. Staff report this evening will be provided by our city attorney, Fred Galante.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. In 2019, the legislature passed Assembly Bill 571 that established campaign contribution limits for cities and counties that did not adopt their own campaign contribution limit ordinance. The city of Chino does not have an ordinance establishing any campaign contribution limits. As such, the current limit per state law, which is $4,900 from any one particular source, would apply by default. Well, earlier this year, on February 18th, 2021, the Fair Political Practices Commission adopted actually amended various regulations that formerly applied to state-level candidates. Has now applied those to local campaign and candidates. And one of those provisions is that a candidate is prevented from redesignating their committee for a subsequent election to the same office, which is a departure from the way the city of Chino has been able to file in the past, as well as any other cities. So, as I mentioned, the city has not adopted its own ordinance. If the city chooses to adopt an ordinance, you could set your own regulations and follow those. You wouldn't default to the state requirements, such as that one example that I just provided. Should the city decide, you could choose to adopt a campaign contribution ordinance that it does not have a limit, or set a certain limit, whether it's consistent or lower than state law or higher than state law. Or alternatively, you can default to the state. So those, I think, are the three options available to the council, and we just wanted to find out what the desires of the city council are.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, then we'll turn it back to council discussion. I ask that this be put on our agenda. Personal recommendation is that we repeat what we have done historically for years, which is no limits, which allows us to roll campaign funds to the next election. I think these campaign limits at a local level would cause an undue hardship in accounting, kind of a nightmare. But like Fred said, we have actually three options. We can write an ordinance where we have no limits like we've always had traditionally, or we can ask staff to bring back an ordinance that sets local limits, or we can default to the state limit, which is $4,900 from a single source per election cycle. Staff or council discussion?
I think we should just go back to where we were at before.
Okay. Chris?
I agree.
Okay.
Concur.
Walt?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we will direct staff to bring back an ordinance that sets no dollar limit.
Thank you, council.
Which is exactly as we've done historically, or historical.
So if I could get a motion, a second with that directive, we will bring back the appropriate ordinance.
Okay. Motion from Councilman Flores, second from Councilman Pocock. Item passes 4 yes, 1 absent. Item number 21, Transportation Development Impact Fee Fund. Appropriate $1,800,000 from the Transportation Development Impact Fee Fund as a part of the settlement between the City of Chino and Richland Real Estate Fund. City Manager Matt Ballantyne will provide our staff report this evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Pine Avenue is a major east-west corridor through the preserve that will ultimately be improved with 6 lanes. That's 3 lanes in each direction. In spring of 2018, staff began to have discussions with the property owner at 16500 Chino Corona Road to acquire the land along the frontage of their property to widen Pine Avenue as depicted on your screens. In December of 2018, the city initiated eminent domain proceedings to acquire the easements necessary to widen Pine Avenue. The city continued mediation efforts and last month reached settlement for the 2.5 acres of road dedications and 5 acres of easements within the authority amount authorized by the City Council. As such, staff is seeking an appropriation of $1.8 million from the Preserve Transportation Development Impact Fee Fund to finalize the settlement. This concludes my report, and staff will be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay. Anyone in the audience like to address the council on this item? Okay, Matt, does this give us the ultimate right-of-way for the widening of Pine Avenue?
Correct, on the
ultimate
south
widening?
side. The only remaining portion that we need to acquire is on the north side of Pine Avenue. That's not depicted on the screen.
Okay, so this gives us ultimate right-of-way
Yes, on the south side.
on the south side.
Correct.
Okay. Questions of staff or comments?
I don't have any questions. The only comment is I'm glad that this is the final one for the south side, so we can start the construction on it. I just want to say thank you to staff for finally getting this done. I know it's going to be a lot of work, not just on our staff, but also on our police department when we end up closing down Pine Avenue towards the beginning of the year to construct this. But I think that definitely this is something that needs to be done. The one lane on such a busy street isn't working, hasn't worked for a long time, so I'm excited that we're starting to move forward with this project.
Absolutely, and also, I'm very, very thankful that you were able to get the full dedication and not partial, because I know that was a consideration with Richland for a while. They didn't want to give the full dedication, which was ridiculous since we're going to need the full dedication anyway, so why go back twice, right? Okay, then I would entertain a motion in a second. Okay, motion from Councilman Flores, second from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. Item passes 4 yes with 1 absent. Item number 22, award of contract to Ayala Park Improvements, North Parking Lot, Picnic Pavilion, and Accessibility Project, PK 221. This is to award a contract in the amount of $1,254,206 to Classic Engineering and Construction Incorporated, Orange, California, for the Ayala Park Improvements, North Parking Lot, Picnic Pavilion, and Accessibility Project. Report this evening will be provided by our Assistant Project Coordinator, Keith Martinez.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. The adopted fiscal year 2021-22 budget includes funding for the Ayala Park Improvements, North Parking Lot, Picnic Pavilion, and Accessibility Project. Ayala Park was built in 1979 that has been expanded over the years to its current size of 140 acres. It currently has 4 parking lots available for use throughout the park. The north parking lot can accommodate up to 195 vehicles and is primarily used for access to the skate park, multi-use trail, softball fields 1 through 4, and recently renovated fields 5 and 6. Of the 4 parking lots, the north parking lot is original to the park, has been deteriorating over the years, and is not compliant with current accessibility laws. Adjacent to the north parking lot is one of 2 picnic pavilions within the park. During an inspection of the north parking lot, staff noticed deficiencies within the existing picnic pavilion. The fascia boards are missing or broken, the roof is in need of repair, and the polygon metal posts have deteriorated, creating a hazardous situation that cannot be repaired. The scope of work for the project will include removal of the entire north parking lot asphalt, including existing adjacent concrete walkways and curbs, parking lot center median, trees, irrigation, picnic pavilion, picnic tables, barbecues, and 1 drinking fountain. A new subterranean drainage system will be installed under the new parking lot to allow for proper filtration, new asphalt, new curb and gutter, new walkways, new trees with drip irrigation, new picnic pavilion, new accessible tables, and 1 new accessible drinking fountain. To complete this project, the intersection adjacent to the entrance into the parking lot off of 12th Street will be redesigned for accessibility and properly striped to provide a safe path of travel for guests utilizing the multi-use trail. Staff prepared the project's plans and specifications, and the project was then advertised for bids, with notice inviting bids being published with the Chino Champion in several regional trade publications and on the Planet Bids website on August 25th, 2021. On September 16th, 2021, 16 proposals were received electronically via Planet Bids from highly qualified contractors with specific experience related to this project. The lowest bid was submitted by Classic Engineering and Construction Incorporated, also known as KEC, in Orange, California, in the amount of $1,254,206. Staff has verified the contractor's references, licensing for this project, and determined them to be responsive and responsible bidder. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation the City Council award a contract to Classic Engineering and Construction Incorporated in the amount of $1,254,206 and authorize an additional $125,420 in project contingencies for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,379,626. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Keith. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, council comments?
Just a question, how long is it going to take once it gets going? How long is it going to take for the construction to be done?
The start date is October 18th. We gave them 75 working days. The January 28th is their deadline, provided that we don't run into any rain delays.
Now, when they're under construction, will there be no parking in that area?
That is correct. The parking lot will be closed off of 12th Street. They will not be able to access that parking lot. The skate park will be open, but they'll use a different entrance to get into there.
Okay, thank you.
Keith, I have a question, not related to this project, but you know, when you come into the park area from 12th Street, you cross Edison, that dip is really deep. Are we ever going to fix that?
Funny you should ask. They're actually going to be dealing with that with the Edison widening project, which is probably going to be happening at the same time, but we don't have a start date for that yet. That, I believe, is Development Services that's taking care of that. That will be addressed. There will probably still be a dip, but just not as bad.
Good, because that's kind of dangerous. If your car's very low, go very slow. Any other comments, questions? Okay, then I would entertain a motion. Motion from Councilman Flores, second by Councilman Pocock. Item passes yes, 4, 1 absent. Item number 23, amendment to the Comprehensive Speed Zone Resolution. This is to approve Resolution 2021-067, amending the Comprehensive Speed Zone Resolution of the Chino Municipal Code, updating speed limits throughout the city. Staff report this evening will be provided by our Transportation Manager, Mr. Dennis Rawls.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before you tonight is a resolution to update our comprehensive speed ordinance, setting speed limits throughout the city of Chino. Per California Vehicle Code, speed limits are set by regulation based on an engineering survey that is performed. The California TCD defines what that study entails and includes a survey of vehicles actively using the street during free flow conditions. The idea being that speed limits should be set based on the safe flow of speed of the vehicles using it. And so thus, a survey of the vehicles are used so that the public actually sets the speeds of these streets. There is some discretion by engineers on speed limit setting, but that discretion is very limited to a 5-mile-per-hour difference once the survey is completed. With the survey, an 85th percentile speed or critical speed is determined. That is the speed at which 85% of all surveyed vehicles travel at or below, with the thought being that 85% of the traffic generally travels at a safe speed. So in that, roadway characteristics are considered, hazards not apparent to the driver are considered, and an ultimate recommendation on speed limits is determined. During this round, 164 street segments were surveyed. 8 of these segments were brand new. Some of these locations are in the preserve. A couple are in the College Park because we survey streets about every 5 years. And so some of these streets had not been surveyed previously. Of those segments, there are also 10 others that are increasing by 5 miles per hour and 56 segments that are decreasing by 5 miles per hour. In your staff report is a list of all segments that are changing, including the new ones, for your quick reference. Some of our speed limits are set on streets that are adjacent to some of our surrounding agencies. Our jurisdiction is often on the center lines of some of our boundary streets. So in those cases, those speed limits need to be coordinated with those agencies. We have reached out to all agencies that have an impact and are waiting for their concurrence on our results of speed limits. To kind of give you a quick review of a map prepared that shows what the proposed speed limits are. This is the northern half of the city. I just want to point out that kind of the central part of the city is remaining a lower speed limit with 30 to 35 miles per hour. As you travel towards the outskirts of the city, those speed limits do tend to rise to 40. You'll see Mountain Avenue is shown at 45 miles an hour. As we move further south and get into some of the industrial areas, some of those speed limits are a little bit higher in the 40 mile per hour range and 45 mile per hour range. And then in the preserve, speed limits are, again, higher as some of those long stretches of wide roads are there. So you'll see some speeds in the 45 to 50 mile per hour range. One of the things I did discuss with some of my cohorts and from other agencies is they were actually kind of surprised to hear that we had 56 segments being reduced. During the pandemic, we saw a decrease in traffic volumes, and in related to that, an increase in overall speeds. So they were pretty impressed with our ability to reduce 56 speed segments of streets. I contributed that to our teamwork approach here in Chino with our engineering, education, and enforcement. So all of those items combined and our community really caring for their speeds, contributing to those reduced speed limits. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have and recommend approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, questions or comments from council members? Dennis, generally speaking, residential speed limits should be what?
In residential streets, the California Vehicle Code allows a speed limit to be set at 25 miles per hour. So on all of our local classified roadways, those speed limits are automatically 25. They don't require any survey to keep it at 25.
Okay. We have certain streets where they're unusually wide, but they're residential streets. Vernon is one in particular, and it's like a speedway from people in the county area going south. I mean, they race down that street, and I don't think we have enough officers to do police enforcement, but there's also no speed limit signs around. I'm wondering if an installation of a couple of speed limit signs would help, maybe? Because I swear they go 50 miles an hour.
We can certainly review the prevailing speeds on there. We have the ability to record speeds discreetly so that it's not influenced by any device or anyone being there. So we can take a look at how the speeds on Vernon specifically are recorded. I will say we've also been looking at several streets, especially those long north-south streets, where we have residential homes fronting them. And we've been really looking and having positive results on applying some traffic calming striping, where we usually add like a parking lane or something like that and try to squeeze the travel lane down to a smaller dimension. So it gives the appearance that the street is tighter and a little more uncomfortable at traveling at a higher rate of speed. So we can review that as well as a potential engineering part of the enforcement solution to really get together and try to help reduce speeds on Vernon.
Oh, we've noticed in our neighborhood it's getting worse and worse. I mean, they literally race down that street.
Dennis, could you do me a favor? Can you go back to the map around the preserve? There you go. So on that one, if we look at Hellman, it shows at 50 miles an hour. But right at Kimball and Hellman, there's a big park there. I mean, is that something that we want to do? List something at 50 miles an hour when there's a park located right there?
It's tough to use something like a park. I mean, obviously, having a park close to such a high speed is definitely not something we'd want. But again, it really is dependent on the drivers out there to drive and are surveyed at going those speeds. So it's hard for us to, take that speed limit and artificially reduce it. That would essentially make the speed limit non-enforceable by the vehicle code. So it'd be hard for us to artificially reduce the speed. What we can do is look for other options to help encourage reduced speeds out there.
Because when you look at it, and you look at Hellman, let's say going from Merrill, so your industrial area, you have it listed at 35 miles an hour, and then when it gets into residential, then you got it going at 50. To me, that would seem like it really doesn't make sense to increase it in the residential area and decrease it in the industrial area.
Part of it has to do with the way Hellman changes its characteristics when it goes north of Kimball Avenue. So the road becomes much narrower. There's actually the higher truck traffic actually is lower speeds. So that's why you're seeing such a big disparity there.
Interesting. Maybe they could watch it.
It just seems fast.
We can work with the city of Eastville on trying to implement some other measures that might help encourage lower speeds. And if we see something where we think we can reduce the speed limit, we can always redo the survey again and bring back a change.
Do the houses on Hellman, do they face Hellman or do they side with block walls?
They side with block walls.
Side with, that's probably why, because they don't face it. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, then I would entertain a motion and a second. Motion from Councilman Flores, second from Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. Item passes 4 yes with 1 absent. Okay, next on the agenda is Mayor and Council reports. Before my report, I'd like to thank both Mayor Pro Tem Lucio and Councilmember Comstock, who is absent this evening, for proposing $500 each to the Chino Relay for Life. This absolutely is an outstanding program that we're supporting, our city continues to support. I had also asked that I use $500 from my own campaign, or not campaign, but my own fund to contribute to the Relay for Life. So I know there's 2 items on our agenda. City Attorney Galante, would it be okay to combine these and increase it 500 to 1,500 with it coming out of the 3 accounts, $500 each?
Yes, since these items are on the agenda, the $500 are merely a suggestion, but the council has ultimate discretion to increase it, and if you'd like to also add your support to that, I don't see any Brown Act problem with that.
Then would we take 24 and 25 still separately or combine them?
I think staff understands that the intent would be, included with your contribution, that the total would be $1,500, and that would be evenly distributed amongst the contribution funds by the 3 council members.
Okay, all right.
So you could take it together with that
Councilman
addition.
Flores just says he wants to do it too.
Yeah, I mean, if that's possible, I would like to.
I
Well,
did,
why?
I used
So-
my
so-
own funds. I already donated.
You already donated, okay.
So then it sounds like what the recommendation from the council or the motion would be is to appropriate the $2,000 in total divided amongst the 4 council members.
Yes. Yes.
So it's
Okay.
2,000
Yeah,
because
with
it's 4
500
council members
for
with 500.
Yeah,
Correct.
500 for 4 each. Okay, a motion to approve that action? Let's see, Angela? Okay, there's a motion from Councilman Flores, second by Mayor Pro Tem Lucio. Passes 4 yes, 1 absent. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, past actions from myself for the last 2 weeks. On Wednesday, September 22nd, I met with staff and representatives from Sika and Majestic Realty regarding Sika's desire to expand. On Thursday, September 23rd, I attended the Housing Subcommittee meeting with Mayor Pro Tem Lucio, staff, and consultants to discuss the allocation of the RENA requirements. I virtually attended the Chino DeSalter Authority Finance Committee meeting later that afternoon. Tuesday, September 28th, I virtually attended the West Valley Mosquito and Vector Control Board Board of Directors meeting. And then following that, I filmed the mayor's message. Wednesday, September 29th, I attended the joint Inland Empire Utilities Agency Board of Directors and the Sewerage Policy Committee workshop on the Chino Basin Program, which was held at Cucamonga Valley Water District. Friday, October 1st, I, along with Mayor Pro Tem Lucio and Councilmembers Flores and Pocock, attended the senior birthday celebration. Saturday, October 2nd, I, along with the rest of the council and several staff members, attended the opening ceremonies for the Relay for Life held at Ayala Park. The event was smaller this year than it had been in the past, but the organizers are still hoping to reach their goal of $100,000 donated to the American Cancer Society, and that hopefully will get us our own relay again next year. There was a thought that we might lose the Chino relay and be combined with other cities if we couldn't meet the goal. Then later that afternoon, Councilman Flores and I attended the grand opening of the Bronze Beauty Bar located on Central in the complex east of Farmer Boys. It's a very interesting concept with a variety of services offered by expert technicians. It was fascinating. I had not been to an establishment like that. So you can get tanned, you can get your eyebrows tattooed or done, you can get eyelashes glued on, you can get lots of stuff done. It was pretty fun though, but it was opened by a daughter of a member that used to be on the school board, Bobby Grizzle's daughter. And it's a really fun place, isn't it, Chris? Really fun. That's Chris liked it. But it was pretty cool. Kind of amazing, the services that are offered for ladies. You can kind of get everything redone. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool. Anyway, I recommend that you visit it. It's a fun place. And with that, Mayor Pro Tem Lucio.
Yes, thank you. On September 23rd, I attended the Housing Subcommittee meeting with the mayor and other staff members. On September 25th, I attended for the first time the Chino Kiwanis Club Dinner. It was a good time. My wife and I really enjoyed it. We weren't as close as we thought we were going to get, hopefully, to the car, but it was good turnout, and everybody seemed to have fun, so it was good to go. September 27th, attended a meeting with the city manager to talk about some of the things that are going on in the city. September 27th, I attended the Infrastructure Street Committee meeting. On September 28th, I had a meeting with Supervisor Kurt Hagman, talk about some of the projects he'd like to do regarding water and potentially some of the projects that he'd like to get up and going over at Prado Park. On September 30th, I attended the retirement breakfast honoring Deputy Chief Scott Atkinson. It was well attended. It was nice. I didn't know the traditions that you guys had, but the tradition was very nice of him being able to ride around in the fire truck, visit all the fire stations, and basically say goodbye to all the staff. It was a good turnout, and it's a great tradition. I was really glad to be able to see it, and it looked like he's going to be surely missed. And from everything that everybody said about him, he's truly a nice guy. On September 30th, I also had a meeting with George, I think it's Javid Dajas. He's the owner of the Farmer Boys that's going on Euclid. He just wanted to talk to myself and Councilmember Comstock. He's eager to get it opened, and I think staff's working with him to try to get some things resolved so that we can get Farmer Boys open. On September 30th, I had the quarterly meeting with the fire district. They talked to us briefly about what's going on with the fire, with the ambulances and the shortages that we have. So it was good to get briefed on that. Hopefully you can brief us a little bit more when you do your presentation. October 1st, I attended the senior birthday celebrations with the mayor and Chris and Walt. And again, you know, they do their thing real quick, and then they want to play bingo. So, but my mom, I kind of told her about it, and she wants to go look at it because she's a big bingo player herself. So, on October 2nd, we did the Relay for Life. It was a lot smaller than it normally was, but I think part of it probably is the fact that we're just coming out of the pandemic. And talking to my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, she does the one in Riverside, and apparently they have not yet gone in person. So everything's been virtual even for them at this point. So that could probably be a contributing factor why ours was such a small turnout, was the fact that a lot of people probably don't know it's in person. So hopefully next year we can get a better turnout, you know, I'm hoping that our restrictions continue to lessen and that things continue to open up and we don't shut down for some strange reason. October 4th, we had another meeting with the city manager. And October 5th, we went over our street signage that we're looking at, potentially some new signs that we're going to put into the city and the different designs that we're looking at. And it looks like we'll be coming back with some more, I guess, when Karen comes in so that we can all vote and make a determination on what the street signs are going to look like. But I'm excited at the fact that we're changing them up and we're beautifying our image. So that's all I have.
Be nice to be able to read them all.
Yes.
Right? Because we have some you can't read. And you're right about Scott's retirement, Scott Atkinson. That was so nice, so well attended. A lot of the retirees were there, which was nice to see. That's always, I think, very complimentary to the retiring person when the older guys come back and say goodbye. The funny thing about Scott's retirement, though, was that when he mentioned that he couldn't remember being on the department without me being on the council. How sad is that? He was right, though. Chris?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. September 22nd, I had a water facility tour. That was pretty awesome. It was pretty great to see. On the 27th of September, I had a meeting with Supervisor Kurt Hagman as well. We went over some of the plans he has for some of our sphere and what Chino, I guess, plans to do with the sphere as well. But that was a pretty interesting meeting. On the 27th of September, I attended the Community Services Commission meeting, and it's always a joy to attend those meetings. On the 28th of September, I attended the Chino Community Oversight Committee, and that was pretty good. I know there's an update I'm waiting on from that committee. I need to kind of figure out what I know Matt and I were talking about this, but a building they're putting in the area there, and I just want more information on that. When I get more information on that building and where they're at, I'll report back to the council about that. On the 30th of September, I attended the Optimus 100th anniversary open house. It was a pretty great turnout, and thanks to everybody who showed up. On on October 1st, I attended the senior birthday celebration here at our senior center. On the 2nd of October, I attended the Relay for Life event. That same day, I attended the Bronze Beauty Bar grand opening. On the 5th of October, today, before this meeting, we went over some of the street signage that we're gonna hopefully be, implementing here in our city, sooner than later. But that's it. That's all I have. Thank you, everyone.
Councilmember Pocock.
Thank you. I wasn't quite as busy as the rest of the folks. On the 22nd, I attended a meeting between Chino, Sitka, and Majestic about possibly relocating or expansion of a building and staying a little bit longer. And on the 30th, I attended the Scott Atkinson retirement breakfast and was very well put on. And also, I got to know Scott through Kiwanis quite a bit, and he's a really good guy. Whatever you need, he steps right up. He said, "I'll take care of it for you." So you lost a good man there, but he moved on. On Saturday the 2nd, I attended Relay for Life on the opening and the ceremonies, and then at the end, the Kiwanis Club provided dinners to all the survivors, so I showed up and helped a little bit with them. And today, I attended the street signage discussion, and we'll be bringing that back for future discussion and decisions. I'd also like to mention that it was nice to see as a former planning commissioner, it's nice to have a community planning month. That's nice. Nice to hear that. And congratulations to Central Bosco for their Business of the Month. And my condolences to the Rodello family and their loss of their patriarch.
Robert's a good guy.
That's it. Thank you.
City Manager Ballantyne.
I have no report, Mayor.
Nothing?
No, I think we've conducted enough business today.
City Attorney Galante.
I don't have a report either. Thank you.
Gosh, you guys. Okay. Come on, Chief. Chief Wes Simmons.
I don't believe we've conducted enough business, so I do have a report.
Okay.
So on the heels of Relay for Life and October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're bringing back our pink patches, as you see here. So you see our personnel out there wearing those. We also have new this year, our dispatch center designed T-shirts with a neat logo on them. And so the patches and the T-shirts are for sale at our front counter, and all the proceeds go to help support the breast cancer awareness cause. I'll also like to share that our department is going to be hosting an open house on October 23rd from Saturday from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. and it's going to have a Halloween theme to it. So we encourage the public to come on out to our open house. There'll be tours of our facility, plus other events for both adults and kids.
Will Susie have a costume?
I don't know, but I think we can probably make that happen. She's going to come as a service dog. How about that?
Oh, come on.
They
that's not
probably
even
do have a
original.
costume for her.
Okay.
And then the last thing I wanted to share is my condolences as well for the Rodello family. As a young police officer working graveyard shift, Robert was the guy coming out with the tow truck, taking my cars for me, and just always an incredible person. He's going to be missed tremendously, and I know their family's hurting right now. So please keep them in your prayers.
He and Francis were a very, very strong part of our community for many years.
Absolutely.
Now, I have a question for you. At
Yes.
the Relay for Life, you had a pink T-shirt under your uniform. You don't have it on tonight.
I do not have it on tonight.
And where is it?
I apologize, it's still in the dirty clothes.
Oh. All right, well, the next time we see you, you need to have your pink T-shirt on.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Chief Williams. You don't have a pink T-shirt on either.
I don't. I apologize that in the front side. Mayor, council, I just want to say a few things. Thank you very much for recognizing our traditions. They're very important to us, and it's very unique for us. And I reflect back on when I watched law enforcement retire, and they have sort of the walk of retirement out front. So those are things that are near and dear to our heart. So thank you very much for showing up and participating. We very much appreciate that, and we are going to miss Scott. As far as Kiwanis go, I will have one of my deputy chiefs be joining Kiwanis, so not to be missed, and I'll challenge him to outdo Scott on that side of it. So,
Great.
thank you for that.
That's going to be hard to do.
Yeah, it is. He's going to be very much missed. On the ambulance front, small updates. We did receive our second ambulance last night, which will take us about another week to get it fully outfitted. So you'll start to see 2 of our red ambulances around town. We're continuing to work through whatever avenues we have to investigate opportunities for us to provide the service ourselves. Obviously, some of those processes have to work out, and we have to find out where the limitations are, but we're going to continue to exercise every opportunity that's provided to us in that way. And I give a lot of appreciation and thank you to our board. 2 of our board members are here, our president and one of our directors this evening, for stepping up and making sure that we can continue to provide the service to the community that we desire to provide as the fire district. And with that, thank you very much for the proclamation tonight. You did mention that our open house is coming on the 16th, so next Saturday. And I would say thank you to Chief Simmons for not having his on the same day, so we don't have to battle for the same folks. So thank you for that, and we look forward to seeing any council members and mayor and any community members come out. It's your fire department. We want you to come out, ask questions, see what it's all about. Maybe bring your young folks out and get them interested in the fire service, and so we can grab them for our law enforcement partners to do. So thank you for that, and thank you.
How about if I bring Sparky,
You can bring Sparky.
the real Sparky?
I'm just going to go to both just to see who cooks better.
Yeah, we have to bring our chili cook-off back.
We lost. You can't compete with fire.
Can I make it?
Thank you, Dave.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Walt.
I just want to say that 2 nights ago, my neighbor across the street called me and said that he had just called the ambulance to take him to hospital because he was having some breathing problems and his arm was falling asleep on him. And so I went over and waited with him till the ambulance got there, and it was the fire ambulance that came. And extremely professional, extremely prompt, took care of business and loaded him up and took him to hospital, and he's fine. He came home already. But,
Oh, good.
But good job. Thank you.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why I know I in particular really support the fire department getting the ambulance service, because your paramedics are there anyway, right? And I think you're a lot more prompt than AMR can be. I know they're short-staffed, and you guys are just part of our community. It just makes sense that you provide the ambulance service. So thank you very much. Okay, any other last comments? Okay, with that, we are adjourned to our next regular meeting, which will be held on Tuesday, October 19th at 7 o'clock, with closed session at 6 if necessary. We are adjourned.